I did a video the other day on Alzheimer's, but I didn't tell the whole story. I was very impacted when I met one of my heroes in public speaking, Zig Ziglar. I shared the stage with him in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was crushed when I found out that he was in the late stages of Alzheimer's. He was just weeks away from announcing it. Sorry. I know I wouldn't get emotional for this, but this man was a legend. He was the Tony Robbins of his day. I was on stage with him, and it was clear that I couldn't help him. And that's because the disease had progressed too far. So I'm hoping this video can kind of help people avoid what he had to go through. His family was amazing. He was a genius. He was brilliant. He actually inspired me to write my book, Brain Hacker, in that moment. And yet he was good for about 10 seconds at a time, and then he'd forget something and zone out and things like that. So just so you know, I'm Dave Farrow. I'm a Guinness record holder for memory. I've done brain training and neuroscience reporting for about 20 years. So here is what you need to know about Alzheimer's and brain training. So first off, the data is very clear. Novel brain training cuts your risk for Alzheimer's tremendously, but it's obviously a preventative measure. This is not something that's easily done once you get a diagnosis. So everything I'm going to say right now has to do with prevention. There was a great study done by the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, and it was in 2014, and there was over 2,000 people that participated in it. So it was a fantastic study, lots of participants, but the key was that all of these participants were over the age of 55, some as old as 70 and 80, and they started novel brain training. In nearly every case, they cut their risk for memory loss and Alzheimer's by 50%. And there was a bunch of other benefits by doing novel brain training. There was less forgetfulness, there was sharperness, there was more energy, better sleep, a bunch of things like that. Now, what is novel brain training as opposed to just brain training? If you download one of those apps from the App Store, you are wasting your time, my friend. I am sorry to say if you're in love with some of these things, but the Lumosity's crash and their lawsuits kind of should give you something to point at. The simple fact is the brain does not grow from repetition. You can get better at a skill. A martial artist who repeats a punch 1,000 times gets a slightly better punch each time, but the brain doesn't have to do any work to figure out how to do a punch again, right? So if you do any sort of app to try to train your brain, most of those apps are going to be repetitive, and you will get better at the app. You'll get better at the app very quickly, something like Sudoku, for example, but you will not be challenging your brain because your brain is challenged by new stuff. There's a joke I used to say to neuroscientists that crosswords and Sudoku get you better at crosswords and Sudoku and not much else. And the reason for that is something called transference in neuroscience. The long story short is an activity doesn't always transfer to everything else. That is, if you learn how to do Sudoku, you get good at Sudoku. Hey, that's great. That doesn't make you better at math in general. That doesn't make you better at memory. It doesn't help your language centers of the brain, your motor functions. So the brain is very compartmentalized like that, except when it comes to novel brain training. That is when you're learning something new or novel. The term novel, not like reading a novel, it's learning something new, something that you've never tried before. So you have to challenge yourself with brand new information every day. And the simple fact is most of those apps will not train your brain because they're repetitive. You'll get better at the game. They're going to show you a score that you're getting better, but you're not actually getting any smarter. You're not actually getting any less forgetful. You're not reducing your risk for Alzheimer's. To be honest, some of the apps that are probably best for training your brain are language apps. Learn a language. As long as you're learning a new vocabulary word every day, that's novel. That's different or new. Just think of novel as new if you're getting stuck on the word. The other thing would be to learn a musical instrument. Grab a musical instrument and learn how to play it. Practice it a little bit each day. You will sound terrible, but it'll be good for your brain. And when everybody tells you that you're terrible at playing this musical instrument, just tell them that you're training your brain. You're not playing this musical instrument, so leave me alone, please. But so that's really the key that I want to get across. Novel brain training. It is absolutely powerful. Now, is it possible that once you actually get a diagnosis, that novel brain training will work? Absolutely. In fact, there's a great study with nuns that neuroscientists followed nuns for something like 20 years. Some of them were diagnosed with Alzheimer's when joining the nunnery. A lot of people who join nunneries, by the way, you might not know this, they're elderly, so they're joining in their senior years, and they would have Alzheimer's going in, but the symptoms would go away. And the belief was that the low stress environment and the studying of prayer actually helped them, plus better diet, less sugar, all that stuff helped them essentially alleviate the symptoms. But later on, when these women passed away and they gave scientists permission to dissect their brains, they did find the same plaques and tangles that are associated with Alzheimer's. So these women had Alzheimer's the whole time, but they were asymptomatic, and it's believed that the brain had the ability to wire itself around damaged areas as long as you did, you guessed it, novel brain training. And you think, well, what brain training are nuns doing? Don't you think you got to learn a lot to do gardening, to work in fields, to study scripture? They were studying constantly in their senior years in a low stress environment, surrounded by a lot of supportive people. That is the secret: social interaction, low stress environment, and learn something. If you get nothing out of this video, I'm hoping that makes a difference in someone's life. And by the way, I'll read every comment down below if you have any questions. And if I got anything wrong, hold me to it. I'll pin something, pin a change to the study or something in the top comment. Like and subscribe for some more.